What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode with Rob and Ski. Yesterday, we always start off this show by being transparent. Yesterday, I did take a step backwards. I went 1-1-1, but the one play that I lost was one of my top plays, and the other one I pushed was a top play. So it ends up being a losing day for me, and it was very close to winning day, but what can I say? Can't win every single day. We've won 10 out of the last 13. We'll try to get back in the right direction today. I do have a lot of plays that I like, a lot more than yesterday, actually. Rob, how did the card treat you yesterday?
Well, I'm going to first off reiterate what you just said. I kind of like the NBA card today, so maybe we'll line up as we talk things through here. Hopefully, we do. Yesterday was kind of the same old deal for me, Ski. Good college basketball, very mediocre NBA. College hoop, a little bit angry. 2:44 left in the game. I have TCU and Kansas State over 147. 2:44 left. They have 147. They missed the next 7 shots to end the game, and it doesn't go over. It misses by a half a point. So I was a little angered by that one. But you have to get over them because these games come quick nowadays, and you spend too much time whining over a loss. You don't get to the next step. I think, again, the NBA looks pretty good today, and there's a lot of college action. So we got stuff to get to here.
Absolutely. We talked very briefly about this, but Isaac's on the same wavelength. Just can't wait to see Van Fleet get hacked around tonight, get no calls. I will especially love it because he's playing the Lakers, but we'll get to that game when it pops up there. For you guys watching on Twitter, we are also live on YouTube. If you guys have any questions about the games or want us to get to a specific game, feel free to ask in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer a question or jump over and try to give the best answers we can for the games that you guys want to talk about. All right. We got what, 6 games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 games on the slate. Let's go in rotation order here. We'll start with 501, 502, Portland, Philadelphia. This game opened Philly -8. We now see them as a 9.5 point favorite. So market liking Philly. Total open 229.5, and that's all the way up to 233. Injury report here, and I should have refreshed this already, but let me hit the refresh button here. I know Simons was game time decision yesterday, so I'm assuming he's going to be good to go here. So let me see. Simons still game time, but toss up. So true game time decision. Archie, Baji, Winslow out for Philly. Nobody's on the injury report. How I felt about this game, Rob, is Philly coming off a really long road trip. I feel like they've been kind of iffy, mediocre, and I just like to fade teams off of the long road trip. I call it a flat spot, and I'll just read some numbers to you. Since 2019, teams returning home after a 5 or more game road trip are 72, 43, and 2 against the spread. I'm sorry, 43, 72, and 2 against the spread, which is 43.6%. If they're a home favorite with the rest advantage, they're even worse. They're 13, 26, and 1 against the spread. That's 33.3%. And that says to fade Philly here. And this is a Blazers team who's got to be desperate, right? If they want to make the playoffs, they got to start going right now. Getting Simons back in the lineup is a boost. And I just think they can hang in within, close to double digits versus a Philly team in a flat spot. So Blazers plus the 9.5 will be the way I look in this game. I played 8.5 personally. How do you feel about it, Rob?
Yeah, I have Blazers, but in a different capacity, Ski. I played their team total over 111.5. They shot the ball miserably the other night against Boston, only got to 96. It's unlike Portland not to crack 100. It's not like Portland to not crack 110, really. And Philly's defense, again, like you mentioned, first of all, 3 of the last 4, it hasn't been good. It wasn't good on the trip. They actually outscored people more than they defended them. And when you're returning home, we say it all the time, and you just said it again, when you're returning home off of a long road trip, like to go against that team. So I don't see the Philadelphia defense standing in the way or putting up a ton of resistance against this Portland offense, especially, again, an extra ingredient to pushing me toward Portland team total was Anthony Simons. I'm assuming he's in for this game. So for them to get to 112 here, Ski, I don't think it's that big of a deal for this team. They've had a little bit of trouble without Simons, looking for secondary scoring. But I think with him back in the lineup, it comes. And don't forget, Nurkic only played 17 minutes the other night in his first game back. I think Nurkic probably gets in there and does a little bit more offensively. When I think about what Damian Lillard could do to James Harden in this instance, I think he could light it up for 40 himself. If the rest come through, I win. I don't think 111.5 was a lot to ask out of Portland. So again, that's what I played, Portland team total over what's now 111.5. I think I'm looking here at the odds screen, Ski, and I'm seeing it go up to 112 at Bet Online. This thing opened 110.5. So there's a little bit of support with me for the Portland team total over.
I can't talk you off of that at all. I mean, 112, Philly's allowing 114 the last 2 weeks. Bottom 10 defensive rated team post All-Star and in a flat spot. I don't expect them to play too much defense here. Something else I was thinking about, and I did see somebody mention earlier, I think Scott Foster is reffing this game. I'm pretty sure, he got a little bit of a beat. I know he usually goes for the home teams, but I don't know that he necessarily has a good relationship with James Harden. I'll put it that way. So we'll see how this game shakes out. I like Portland plus the points. Rob would prefer Portland team total. Let's keep it going here. Next game up is 503, 504, Atlanta and Washington. This one opened Atlanta -1. We see them as a 1.5 point favorite. Total open 238, and we still see 238s across the board. Injury report for both of these teams is clean. Clean for both of them. This is the one game I didn't spend too much time on just because I don't know, I didn't love it. But I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, these teams just played the other day, right?
Right.
And Atlanta was favored, and the handicap, I think, was expecting more points in the games that are Atlanta's favorite because the defense hasn't been good. So in the same kind of a matchup, even though, maybe this game matters a little bit more than other Atlanta games, do we still think this one would have more points, or how are you feeling about this one? I don't really have a strong opinion, so I don't want to tell the people anything.
Well, I would think just from a desperation standpoint, I think it's more that angle leans more into Washington's corner. You can't lose 2 straight to Atlanta in the same division, fighting for a play-in spot. So for the Wizards, I would think that they come, not that they didn't the other night, come prepared to play because they got their lineup back in whole. And what was interesting to me, Ski, is that Monte Morris came back, and yet they didn't start him. They started DeLon Wright at point guard rather than. So maybe that's a switch that they're making here. But they got to 120 points and lost a game by 2. It's a tough loss for the Wizards. I think they can bounce back here. These teams are pretty evenly matched considering the venue. If this game was in Atlanta, maybe I feel a little bit different, but it's in Washington. I don't think they blow 2 home games in a row. So if I had to lean side, I would lean Wizards. Where total is concerned, it's the old, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And a couple of these things haven't worked out in the last couple of days. Knicks first half, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They didn't win first half last night. Pacers fade them first quarter. Didn't work out the other night, but they've worked all season long. And the third one that you can just mechanically play, Wizards over first quarter. They did it again the other night against the Hawks. I think the total was 61. The game landed 62. Something in the same vicinity here tonight. So if you're just looking for mechanical plays that have cash tickets all season long, you're looking at Wizards the game first quarter total over the price. And I would have slight lean Wizards to win this game, Ski. I think that they need it in a larger capacity than the Hawks do.
Fair enough. I can't talk you off. I just think I'd expect more points, but I like the rest of these games a little bit more. Looks like Boofer in the chat likes Washington in the first half again. Akbar says Hawks versus Wizards looks like a good under game. We'll see how it shakes out here today. We'll keep it moving. We have 4 more games on the slate in the association. Next game up is going to be 505, 506, Denver and San Antonio. This game opened with the Nuggets -12.5. They're now 13-point favorite. Total open 234.5, and it's up to 236. Injury report for both of these teams here. For Denver, Gillespie game time decision, Conchar game time decision, Najee out. For Spurs, Sohan likely, Langford game time, McDermott game time, Birch out. So I just don't feel like, for one, Denver barely has a winning record on the road. And I just don't know how much they care to, come into here and blow teams out. I get it. You don't have to try too hard to blow the Spurs out. But I just feel like if I'm going to be playing this game and if I expect some kind of a blowout, maybe I just bet on Joker props. Um, this one is not the most appealing. Would you be laying these points with the Nuggets on the road right now? Or can you trust the Spurs to keep it respectable?
Well, I think first things first, the injuries that you mentioned, I saw all those guys probable. It's one thing I have written in my notes. It's the first time that I think I've seen San Antonio with a actually not even fairly, with a mostly clean injury sheet. Everybody can play here for the Spurs. If I were to play, I would like Denver. I like points even more than I like Denver. Again, it's a San Antonio game, so I usually start with over when I'm talking San Antonio. Now that they've got just about everybody back here, I think I like it a little bit more. And I like it even more because Denver was so miserable the other night. It's one of those mirage games where the Nuggets just didn't play well against the Bulls, right? 96 points was all they could score. That's very un-Denver-like. Jokic had a ho-hum kind of all teams across the board night, and nobody else came to help out. And so I would expect that tonight they do. They haven't nailed down the number one seed yet, Ski, even though they're well in front. And when you look at the teams behind them, Sacramento and Memphis, I don't know that you're necessarily worried if you're Denver that you won't get the number one, but you still have to clinch it. So I think they probably come. We know Michael Malone as a head coach loves to have stuff to get on his team about. And that 96-point performance at home the other night is something to get on your team about a little bit. I think they come ready here. I like total over. I think this game hits somewhere in the mid-240s. I can't see Denver being held to less than 125 by this team tonight. And again, the Spurs have scoring ability. Every single night they can score the basketball. There's no problem there. It's just on the other end. So for me, I think the lead play here would be over. And if I was going to play side and I didn't, I would probably look Denver minus the points. I just think if they want to pile it up, they can. And I know you said you don't think that, we just have a difference of opinion there, whether or not we feel like Denver will come motivated. And I think off of the bad game the other night, I think that's enough motivation for them.
Well, you're in line here with Casey. She says Nuggets just got embarrassed, though. They should want to get right here. It's the same thoughts that you're having. You Capper, his thoughts here. He says the last time Nuggets were double-digit favorites, they smashed the Rockets 133-112, and in the first quarter, they scored 41 points. They were up by 11. Chris, he's saying this is a smash spot. He's taking the first quarter and the first half for the Nuggets. And I don't know that I can talk anybody off of taking them early. Jokic is going to play the entire first quarter. So I would probably like the first quarter more than the first half just for that reason. But just lining up the way everybody's thinking about this game, they got embarrassed. Michael Malone probably is in there cussing everybody out. They're going to come to play today in the first quarter. So I could understand that right there. UCapper says Nuggets following 20-point losses this season, 4-0 against the spread, averaging 120.5 points, allowing 107.8. Average first quarter margin is plus 10. Got to look towards the Nuggets first quarter once again. Seems all right. So the only thing I would say is, do we just take the Nuggets first quarter? Do we go Nuggets first quarter team total? Because we know the Spurs can give it up, but I guess just keep it simple, right? The data's right there in front of you. Best number you can get on the first quarter right now is it open -4. There's a -4 if you have DraftKings, but other than that, it looks like 4.5 pretty much across the board. So I'm interested. I usually don't like to bet first quarters above, -3.5, but this does seem like a situation where they could respond and at least start the game strong. I don't know that they care for the entirety of it, but what do you think, Rob? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm just looking up some numbers here, Ski, as we talk. Ronald has it broken down situationally, which I usually like to do if we're just going for overall season performance. Nuggets first quarter against the spread. They're a pretty good team. First quarter, 37-29, 8 games over 500. On the road, 17-14. So at least they have an above 500 on the road. Again, I'm more in line with a lot of points in this game. I think it was either Chris or maybe Ronald. Somebody pointed out that they're 120.7 in this type of situation. And when you put them against this type of team, I think that climbs. Like I said earlier, I think they get over 125 here. So I'm going to play over, hoping at San Antonio. And really, I do believe San Antonio will contribute. I don't think that's a problem here. Denver's, I don't know, Ski, you always have last 5, last 10, last 2-week numbers. I don't think Denver's been that terrific defensively as of late. So I do expect San Antonio to contribute.
Yeah, I haven't. Well, I didn't do last 5. I just did post All-Star lately. That's what I've been rocking with. And I have them at 16, so not the best at all. And Akbar, he's saying he doesn't expect him to play much defense either. He says Spurs team total looks kind of good to him. Boofer saying this game is a trap. I think he's saying that for the Denver side. He says, here you go, Spurs at home in the first quarter, 20-12. So, okay. Good argument for both sides here. Chris, he's dropping some SDQL in there. I haven't been doing the shows like UNRC lately and able to pop it up on the screen with everything going. So I can't check it out, but I did see what you're on, and I'm sure I know. Just saying after All-Star break, as long as their opponent has 3 or more days rest, and they have 2 or less days rest, they're a road favorite of 12 or more. And I'm sure it's going to favor what he liked in the first quarter and the first half. So if you're interested, you can type that into the database, and we appreciate you for sharing, Chris. I just don't know how to pop it up on the screen. Maybe I'll ask UCapper, and he'll help me out eventually. Markel, he says, if my guy Chris on Nugs team total over, I'm on it also. Wham Bam in the building. He says, hit the like button. Appreciate you, Wham Bam. If you guys like what you're hearing, what you're seeing, it would help us out if you could hit the like button or subscribe. So appreciate that. Chris, appreciate you too, Chris, saying hit the like button, and shout out to Ski and Rob. So appreciate you guys in the chat. You guys are bringing a lot to it. Like I always say, the show is not the same without the chat. So always appreciate you guys. Appreciate you too, Chris Tucker. Let's keep it going. And UCapper said he will teach me. He said I need banners too. Yeah, get my YouTube game right, bro. Help me out up here. They're gonna get me right. All right, next game. Yeah. 507, 508, Cleveland and Miami. This game opened Cleveland -1.5. They're now an underdog. We've seen a flip of favorites. Miami's 2-point favorite pretty much across the board. Total open 214. We've seen it drop all the way down as low as 212. Injury report for both of these teams. Garland has popped up on the injury report as game time decision. And I did see, I'll give UCapper a shout out there. I saw him post on Twitter. The Cavaliers, no Garland, no problem. I think they're 10-0 straight up and 8-1 against the spread. So keep that in mind if you were already liking the Cavaliers side but nervous without Garland. For Miami, Kevin Love is game time but very likely to play. Kyle Lowry's out. Duncan Robinson is out. So this one is one of those games, Rob, where they just played recently within a week, less than a week actually. The first meeting went under the closing line, which was, people were betting it up. I got it at 212.5. They bet it up to 215, 215.5, got to 204. So closed at 215.5 or 215. They reopened this one a little bit lower at the 214 number, and you see it even getting bet lower. So the system, I'm sure you guys know if you've been around for a while, during the regular season when teams play within a week, the first meeting went under. The bookmakers adjust the second one lower. We go with the under. It is 62.2% going back to 2013. And if it's a conference game after All-Star break, it improves to 64.7%. So that lines up for this game. You look at both of these teams playing at bottom 10 pace post All-Star. Both Miami's a respectable defense, even though maybe the numbers don't say it as far as how they've been playing lately. I think in an important game like this, they're going to bring the defense, and the Cavaliers are a top 10 defensive rated team post All-Star. You look at 5 of the last 6 meetings, they have went under. They're averaging more like 203 points. These are number 2 and number 3 teams as far as protecting the paint. Miami can't shoot threes. How are they going to score? That's why they struggle. You going up against the trees down there, Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, you're going to have some trouble if you can't shoot from the perimeter. And on the flip side, Miami can do different things. They can play zone. It's a lot of different things they can do scheme wise and make this Cleveland team struggle, especially if Garland is out of the lineup. So I like under in this game. How do you feel about it, Rob?
Well, let's backtrack and get back to the point of whoever the chat said, no Garland, no problem. They played well without him. And again, we talk about this a lot more often than not when Donovan Mitchell is out. But when you can just slide Karis LeVert in, that's fantastic. I mean, Mitchell can go to the point, LeVert can go to the 2, and everything works out very, very well for Cleveland. As you mentioned, a repeat game from the other night. I like what you said about tough in the paint against Cleveland because Bam Adebayo had some trouble the other night, right? 17 points, 5 fouls. And you get him in foul trouble, and Miami has no answer behind him. And that fourth quarter, I know you had under, so you got to love an 18-17 fourth quarter. I mean, the defenses just took hold, and that's what you have to anticipate in a game like this. If it's close after 3, and it was pretty high scoring after 3, 87-82, but the fourth quarter, these two can lock up. So the question becomes side for me, Ski. Do I think Cleveland can sweep on the road, or do I think Miami wins here? I don't want to lay it with Miami. Got to be honest. I would rather have them in an underdog situation. And the question mark next to Garland's name is what flipped this game, right? The injury chasers came out in full force once that went up and pushed Miami to favorites. So I'm probably out. I could understand playing under with these two. You have to prefer Cleveland at home because they've been so much better at home. But I think the other night, when we did the show on Wednesday, I think we both agreed that Cleveland probably was the right side there. They turned out to be. I just don't know that I have that same feeling here tonight. Close game. Jimmy Butler's been coming up big every game as of late because they're so meaningful for Miami. But when you look through the standings, Miami's in decent shape right now as the top team in the play-in game. But I know they want to get to 6. And for Cleveland, they're very, very close. They're on the verge of getting themselves a home floor inside the top 4 in the East. So plenty of motivation, plenty of defense. No Garland, no problem. You probably expect the same type of thing to happen tonight, a real close game that stays under.
That's what I'm expecting. And, I do not mind at all if Garland sits this game. Go ahead and sit, Mr. Darius Garland. Let's see. We had Rick White saying he enjoyed the $2 Tuesday play. I appreciate you for, trusting me on the big play. Chris Tucker. Excuse me. Chris Tucker says Portland and Toronto are the plays today. Both games over, going to the moon. All right. Let's keep it going here. We have 2 games left here, Rob. 509, 510. We're looking at Brooklyn and Minnesota. This game opened Minnesota -5, down to 4.5 point favorites. Total open 233.5, and it's down to as low as 226. So let's take a look at the injury report and let's see if that's why we have a big line move. We have Dinwiddie, game time decision, but likely to play. Cam Johnson and Claxton are also game time decision, just true game time, along with Royce O'Neal. For Minnesota, Noel is out and Karl-Anthony Towns remains out. So how I felt about this one, Rob, first I put up a system, and let me just read it out here. It says it's since 2017, we're looking at home teams off of a loss at home who have 2+ days rest, and they have 2+ days rest before their next game. They are 47-22 to the under. That is 68.1%. And so this makes sense to me because you didn't have to travel. You're at home. You had 2 days off. That means you get time to practice and work on, whatever wasn't going correctly. And a lot of time that means defense. And then after this game, you get 2 days rest. So you can go all out. You can give maximum effort here. So that makes sense. If I look at those games after All-Star break, they are 15-6 to the under, 71.4%. And if I look at the initial scenario, when their opponent is on a back-to-back, it's 7-1 to the under. So I like all of those things. Both teams, last 2 weeks, they're combined 10-3 to the under, with those games combining an average 225.8 points. It's went under 4 of the last 5 meetings between these teams. An extra little stat nugget, whatever, Nets with a total higher than 228 and less than 235. They're 11-1 to the under, maybe just a little bit too high. In this one, I think Minnesota will clamp down and we can stay under. I mean, it's probably gone a little bit too low now. I was looking at a cutoff of 228, but I got it at 232.5. That's all I can say. Rob, would you still play the under? Do you think that's the right side, or are you looking a different direction?
Well, it's been my lean on Minnesota since the break, right? I think you and I did a little project ahead, teams that we want to fade, teams that we want to ride, teams that we think will go over, teams that we think will go under. Minnesota was like one of my top under teams coming out of the break. They're 6-1 to the under last 7 games and 5-1 since they came out of the break under. So I would look that way immediately. As you said, when something pushes down 7 points, the only reason why it becomes a little difficult for me, Ski, is all of a sudden under Jacques Vaughn with this new crew. I had these numbers yesterday. I don't have them in front of me now. I could look them up real quick, but I think the Brooklyn Nets were top 3 in tempo over the course of the last 5 games or 10 games. All of a sudden, they're playing speeded up ball. Kind of makes sense with the group that they have, very athletic group. But what I wound up on in this game more than anything with the Claxton injury was Rudy Gobert rebounds. Rudy Gobert is listed at 12.5. I'm going to bank on him getting to 13 here again. The Nets just give it up to centers anyway. I think if you want to go a different direction, I looked at double-double. It was minus 160. I didn't feel like laying 160, but maybe I should because he should be able to get 10 and 10. And maybe that's a safer play than looking for 13 rebounds. If you want to do points and rebounds, I think that number was 26.5. You need to get a 14-13 combo. But in some capacity, I think you have to play Rudy Gobert here in what should be a defensive game by the looks of the steam toward the under. And because the Nets just don't have any center play whatsoever. We talk about these teams on a daily basis. Dallas, no center play. Who am I missing here that should come to mind right off the top of my head? And I can't think of it here with a lack of center. But there's 2 or 3 of them across the league where they just don't have the ability to defend against a center. So for Gobert, who can scoop up rebounds, I would try him in the prop world. I'm usually not big in the prop world, but I think this is an instance where you have to find a way to play Rudy Gobert. And if Claxton doesn't go, you really have to play Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, I thought about trying to find a rebound prop here. I just wasn't sure what his number would be and didn't quite. I've been focusing more on totals lately. You know, they've been treating me right, and had my main focus. I do have a prop in this next game, though. So we have Sonny in the chat. I guess he's tired of NBA. He says, give college plays. I guess, you know, I know it's March Madness. Everybody's excited for that. We will get to a couple of college games. You know, if you have questions about college games, tell us which ones you want to hear about, maybe. And we'll see if we have some answers for you. All right, last game up on the slate for NBA, 5-11, 5-12. Toronto heading into LA to face the Lakers. Open Lakers -1. We've seen a flip of favorites. We now have Toronto -2.5. Total open 224.5. And it's standing pat at that 224.5. Injury report for Toronto. Looks like Will Barton is game time decision. For the Lakers, D'Angelo Russell is upgraded to probable. Anthony Davis is also probable. Mo Bamba out. LeBron James out. So I feel a few different ways about this game. You know how we started the show. I know we don't have the same official, but these officials stick together. You know what I'm saying? They see them out. They see Fred VanVleet throwing their brother under the bus. You're not getting no calls from me either. You know, he's gonna be out there getting a hack dog game, and I forget the coach's name. What's the coach who was staring the official down? Rob Fred something in college. Maybe you didn't see it, but it was a funny thing on Twitter. Fred Dirt. It starts with a D, but I can see Fred VanVleet just being really frustrated with the officials tonight and staying under that 20.5 point total. I mean, he stayed under 7 of his last 10 games, and he's not going to be getting any favors tonight. He averages 19.3. You're asking him to get over his average after making those comments versus a Lakers defense who's second post All-Star break. I'm going to go ahead and bet the under on Fred VanVleet tonight. Other than that, I like the under on the game. If you look at what both of these teams have been doing the last 2 weeks, they're combined 11-4 to the under. Games combining the average 219.2. You have two bottom 10 offensive rated teams post All-Star, two top 10 defensive rated teams in the same span. Neither team is good shooting the three on the season, and at least the Lakers are, top 5 defending the three on the season. So I just think this all lines up for an under game. I get that D'Angelo Russell's coming back and he's going to bring offense, but he could also be a little bit rusty here. He could potentially be on a minutes limit. And anyway, 3 out of the 4 games that he's played so far as a Laker have stayed under. Everybody else is going to play defense. They'll be all right. So under 224.5 seems like the play here. And also, I like the Lakers. I just, they're playing like they're desperate. Anthony Davis has stepped it up a notch, taking over without LeBron James on the court or in the game, however you want to call it, and just getting the offensive boost of Russell back. I think he's going to make it a lot easier for this Lakers team to run away with some of these games. Like, they've been able to play some defense. It's just, how are we going to score the ball besides Anthony Davis? So I like the Lakers at the house. Raptors haven't been a good road team all year. I have them as 12-22 straight up. I'm not expecting them to win tonight. So to sum up this game, Lakers, I got it as a pick 'em, but you can get plus money for them right now. Lakers, Raptors under 224.5. Fred VanVleet under 20.5 points. That's best ways to play this game. And I'm not mad at anybody who wants Anthony Davis rebounds. I see Casey. She's not a big Anthony Davis fan, but she likes money. She says Punk over 13.5 rebounds. So different ways to play this game. How do you think about Toronto and the Lakers today, Rob?
Well, I didn't have much thought, so I'm glad I listened to you. Listen, I was wrong the other night. I guess I could say half right, half wrong, but you and I had a little disagreement about the Toronto defense, right? I was going through numbers of how miserable they are at preventing teams from making shots. And the other night against the Clippers, again, they give up 55% from the field. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight games where the opponent has shot 50% or better against Toronto. To me, that's lousy defense. But again, that game stayed under, which cashes on your end because they only gave up 108 points, even though every shot goes in. There's just not a lot of shots in the game when Toronto's playing. So again, we tried to go through this the other day that sometimes bad defense and under can correlate due to slow tempo. If the Lakers go slow, if D'Angelo Russell comes back and they go slow, then maybe this one stays under as well. But I'm done with Toronto right now just because I know they can't stop people from scoring or from making shots. It's just a matter of how many shot attempts there are going to be. For those who want some validation behind what you said early on about these refs stick together, just go watch that Netflix documentary on Tim Donaghy, and you'll see how many times. If Ben Taylor, I'm sure, has friends, close friends inside the NBA, and Donaghy describes for you how they take up for their buddies, how they'll change a game, even if their buddy is the guy the team is pissed off at and he's not officiating. The friends will take up for him in the next game and make sure that that team suffers the consequences. There was an instance where they called Allen Iverson for, I think, carrying or
that's what it reminds me of. Exactly.
Yeah.
And Iverson asked the ref, like, how long is this going to go on, man?
Exactly. And so that goes on. And for us, I wish I knew who Ben Taylor's direct friends were, because then I could look at the referee list and know, but we may find out. So you have to be careful where that's concerned. That all plays into the Lakers' hands for sure, because there's no ref on the floor that's going to be anti-Lakers here tonight, I don't think. Probably, like I said, I didn't have a lot of thought on this game because I just can't figure out Toronto. To me, Toronto should give up way more points than what they're giving up because they don't stop teams from making shots. So I'm probably out. If I do play, I'll just tail what you said and maybe be on Lakers here because they do. Skeeter was a great, real quick here. I don't want to ramble too much, but, as I was waking up this morning early having a coffee, I was watching this breakdown by Brian Windhorst on ESPN of the possibilities for the Lakers, not just to get in, but to advance a little bit and how they will try to avoid a certain bracket. and try to get in a bracket with Sacramento and a couple of banged up teams. And it's very, very possible that we'll have to study close as it gets closer to where the Lakers want to position themselves in the playoffs here. It could mean coming out one night and not playing hard. Right now, they have to play hard. They can't afford not to win. But 2-3 games left in the season, maybe we'll be able to apply that a little bit.
And just thinking about that, I mean, I heard Anthony Davis talking after the games, he's saying, we're not satisfied. We want to get greedy. And I love what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing from him. And I was just so happy that we did not have Westbrook to follow him up and say, we just want to have fun. So let's go Lake Show. They're making a push, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm liking what I'm hearing. I like them tonight. I feel like we did a really good job on the NBA slate. 6 games. We got through all of them. Did a pretty thorough job and a lot of picks throughout the show. We had I forgot who it was, but they said, give us some college picks, please. If there's college games you guys are interested in, shoot a question or let us know in the chat, and we'll do our best to maybe answer. But to kick it off, Rob, I know Houston does play today. I didn't really look too heavy into the college basketball card, but I saw they were a 24-point favorite, I believe. For the most part, Houston first half has been good, or I've been liking to look at the other team's team total under. I like to trust their defense. Are you looking at either one of those ways in their game? And I'm trying my best to pull up who they're playing. My bad.
Well, they've started already. So
that's why I can't find it.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you're still looking to see if they were even playing, because you saved yourself money today. The first half, they didn't get their 24-point favorite. They're only up by 4 at the very start of the second half here, 25-21 low scoring game. And you were sitting in the stands for one of those where Houston can't throw it in the ocean. Every now and again, that happens to them, where their defense wins games for them, but they can't make a basket. So I would say this, Ski, I'm actually hoping that they shoot miserably today and still win, and I'll come back and play them tomorrow, because they're a really, really good bounce back team. Like I say, they have these types of games every now and again, let's say once every 7 or 8, where they just don't make the threes, and they don't cover the big number. Maybe they were disinterested today because they're 24-point favorite. Who knows? But they will be on the board tomorrow if they win today. So that might be a good look heading into tomorrow.
And it looks like, the team total under for their opponent was a route for this game today. And we'll see how we look to play them tomorrow. Isaac is asking about Arizona and Arizona State. If we have any opinion there. I don't see a line just yet, but I'm sure the game didn't start, because the people in the chat, they're more interested in college than me right now. I'll let you know that. Arizona State, I have it here. It opened Arizona -8. They're now 7 or 7.5 point favorite. The total was 155.5 down to 154.5. It's out here at the T-Mobile Arena. I could go to the game. It's tonight at 8:30. Should I go, Rob? Will it be a good game? And who do you think's what do you think's the winning ticket for that one?
Well, they just played pretty recent, Ski, the very end of February, and it was a high-scoring game, 89-88. It's a rivalry game, obviously. And, to see Arizona State, and last night they beat USC and scored 77, which is a little bit of a surprise to me. Arizona State's really not that good of an offensive team, or not that high-scoring of a team, generally speaking. They're more defense and controlled. Arizona's the one that's high-flying, which they were again last night. I think they scored like 90. Or somewhere. Yeah, maybe it was in the 90s or high 80s, whatever. So do you expect a repeat of what just happened, or do you expect it tightens up a little bit because now it's conference tournament time? And, for ASU, it's a question of making the NCAA tournament or not. These games are big. Arizona's obviously. And I would think I lean a little bit toward under here. I think the number is 153, maybe in that vicinity. I think that Bobby Hurley's team probably plays a little bit better defense this time around, but it's hard when you're playing unders in Arizona games. You kind of just have to change the channel and not even watch, and just pray that they don't make shots, because when they do, they're very, very difficult to stop from scoring. I would say that's my initial lean, probably under the total. I don't have a real good opinion on side, but I do think ASU is the more desperate team. So underdogs, this type of handicapping conference tournament is so different from regular season, conference, non-conference, regular season, and even the postseason that we're going to be in, March Madness. this is just a unique time to handicap. Generally, you want to look at dogs. Generally, you want to look at unders. In my case, I think this one might stay a hair under the total here.
All right, fair enough there, Rob. It's a lot of questions coming in now. TCU does not play UConn. I don't see UConn even on the slate right now, but I know TCU plays Texas. If you have opinions there, or Zah the Better is asking about Duke versus Miami, either one of those games pique your interest.
Well, let me say UConn plays Marquette. UConn's a 3.5-point favorite. UConn dominated Marquette at home in their most recent meeting. I think Marquette won the first one, but they're both playing really, really well right now. I just think UConn, when it comes to size and defensive capability, they're the better team. I would lean UConn. They had a huge lead yesterday against Providence and let it slip away at the end, and then they regained it. And I think they got a push or a full cover. It was either 6.5 or 7, the closing number. They won by 7. Providence always difficult. I think UConn's probably the right side in that game. TCU, for the person who asked about TCU, boy, I've been touting them for the last 2 weeks, Ski, as a team that's kind of under the radar when NCAA tournament time comes. I don't think enough people talk about TCU and their potential to be an Elite Eight with Mike Miles Jr. and Eddie Lampkin. Remember last year, they played Arizona in the NCAA tournament right to I think that game went overtime or double overtime, and they almost beat Arizona. Wound up losing in the end. Very good basketball team. But, and I'll give this but in capital letters, Texas is playing outstanding right now. And their commitment to defense last night, I had them against Oklahoma State. And I get Oklahoma State can't throw it in the ocean in practice. But Texas has preached defense. It's probably going to be a lower scoring game here. TCU likes to get up and down. I won't play a TCU game under. So if I think it's going to be a little bit lower scoring, I won't play it. I'm at a crossroads there. I would, wow. If I had to, the old gun to my head theory here, Ski, I would probably say that game stays under. But again, I didn't play. Somebody's asking Duke and Miami. I'd be on Miami. Yesterday was a scare for them. But I think they're the better team. I think they do things that Duke can't defend. I think Duke's 96 points yesterday is more mirage than reality. So without talking any further, I can sum that up real quick where I think Miami's probably the right side. I love Arkansas +1. Yeah, Arkansas, wow. They're since Nick Smith Jr. got back into that lineup, all of a sudden they can play offense. They're a scary team. Wow, you listen to Bruce Pearl talk. Now, we talked about this game yesterday. I think, I had this game over the total. It did get over. I think Arkansas is a little bit underestimated in the totals market right now because Nick Smith Jr. has only been back for about 5 games. And prior to him, they weren't scoring well. The odds makers kind of kept using those types of totals with Arkansas being low scoring. But the last 2 games against Kentucky and Auburn, they've scored the basketball. I could see them scoring again here. Bruce Pearl, real quick, that post game he gave yesterday tells you all you need to know about Eric Musselman in Arkansas. He said their length and physicality bothered us. We couldn't rebound, and we couldn't win the game because of that. So Arkansas is going to bring a lot here. They bring the capability to score. They bring a lot of length on defense. I don't think they're a very good defensive team, to tell you the truth. But I do think some of the stuff they do, if that makes any sense, I think some of the stuff they do defensively can be bothersome, but I do think they can be scored upon. Until further notice, I'm going to just keep trying Arkansas over. But they're a scary team in this tournament. They're a very scary team, so I'm not going to talk anybody off who wants to play them.
All right, a lot of info from Rob. They keep coming, Rob. So if you don't have any opinions or if it's the cutoff time, you let me know. You the boss of the college section. We have UAB in North Texas or Southern Utah and Utah Valley. If you have opinions on either of those, or if you've given the people enough, we could.
Well, that's Boofer. You always have to answer Boofer, right? And I'll get back to the other game too. I don't want to leave anybody out. I'm so mad at Southern Utah. You and I were talking off air, Ski, and I told you that I had 2 totals yesterday. That if they went my way, I lost to both of them by a combined 1.5 points or 2 points. If they went my way, it would have been a monster rather than good college day yesterday. One of those games was Southern Utah. They played Utah Tech last night, total 152. Game landed 151, 76-75. For me, again, in these conference tournaments, I kind of lean towards teams that are much better seeded that get scared. So just to apply that to this game, Southern Utah is the number 3 seed in the WAC tournament. They played Utah Tech, the number 11. They're supposed to win that game rather easily. They didn't. They skated by 1 point. On a general basis, just theory-wise, I like to come back with those teams after they got scared. So I would lean Southern Utah in that game. Could lean total again with them. This game is fascinating for Ty Gen. UAB against North Texas, where you have one team that just does not want to do any more than crawl with the basketball and play defense. That's North Texas against UAB that wants to fly up and down the court and score points. So you got the huge contrast here. Which do you lean toward? The better offensive team, the better defensive team. My opinion on this is that UAB is just the better team overall. They've got the best player on the floor. If you even anticipate this game to be 65-63 final, low scoring, or even lower, I want the team that I know has guys that can put it in the hole better than the other side. I don't want to rely on my defense here. North Texas has been blowing some of these Conference USA teams out with sheer defense, but I don't know that applies when you play UAB. So my look would be UAB plus the 1.5. I don't know if that's what Ty Gen is indicating here, that he likes UAB plus the 1.5, but that's the side I would look toward.
All right, I think he is, and I'm sure he likes that you agree. Let me do like this, Rob. I'm gonna group these last 3 here together, and you can see maybe 2 of them play each other. I'm not sure, but Darren Turner says, "How about Tennessee minus 5.5?" He also says, "Y'all think Missouri keeps it close?" And then either that or Sonny saying, "Before you leave, can you talk me off Vandy plus 9.5 versus Kentucky?"
I can't, but I can tell you that I lean toward over in the Kentucky game. 144.5, I think, is the number. I kind of like the total better than I like the side. The previous question. Now, listen, my Missouri bias doesn't creep into this opinion, but I do think Mizzou can keep it close here. Tennessee played a really good game yesterday. Again, it's a game that I had. I laid 12 with them. They win by 15 over Ole Miss, a team that fired their head coach, a team that's kind of in disarray. And Tennessee came through. But without their point guard, it worked out yesterday, right? Zakai Zachary doesn't play. He's gone for the year. But in this instance against Mizzou, it's interesting, Ski, that you listen to other coaches talk about Missouri. Dennis Gates, their first-year head coach, came from Cleveland State, and he had actually brought Cleveland State to the NCAA tournament a couple years in a row, or a couple years ago maybe. And they got the bad luck of drawing Houston in the first round, and Houston annihilated them. But the offense that he runs, these coaches in the SEC say we can't even prepare for this because they don't really run plays. They just run free flow offense, which Tennessee is a defensive team predicated on defense. Another team they're extremely good. Don't get me wrong. They're top 20 quality. Without their point guard, I don't think they're that anymore because he was such a big part of that team. But Missouri can score from all angles, and God forbid the threes get going for Mizzou. And if you play Mizzou, you have to hope for that today, that they shoot well from the perimeter. But I think they're going to speed Tennessee up, and I think they're going to play it really close. So I like Mizzou plus the points there a little bit. Haven't played it yet. And again, just because one of my kids went there, I don't want that to influence what I decide here. But I think Missouri's probably the right side in that game.
All right. Good stuff there. And this is, I know I said we're going to wrap it up. This is my boy, Josh. He's off of he's off of his burner account. I know he has a burner account in the chat somewhere. Don't think I don't know, Josh. But he's saying, he's asking about this Ohio State versus Michigan State. And I know, it's in his area. Maybe he's going to this game. I was trying my best not to leave him hanging. You have any opinion there?
Well, it's classic conference tournament. Ohio State's the classic conference tournament type team, right? A team that's not going to the NCAA tournament. They underachieved this year. Was a disappointing year. But I saw the analytics, one of these analytics sites, Ski, since I think for over the course of the last 3 weeks, Ohio State analytically is ranked as the 14th best team in the country. They're playing their best ball right now. Chris Holtman, outstanding coach, has them playing. That being said, so is Michigan State. I did not like Michigan State all season long. And I don't want to I don't want to make it sound like tragedy caused this, but they had that campus shooting at Michigan State. And since that time, Michigan State's been phenomenal offensively, attitude wise. I think that the team looks like they're, you often hear coaches say they're on a string together, connected. Michigan State looks like that team. And Tom Izzo at tournament time, you don't want to be betting against him either. So this game's probably moved too much for me. It's gone from 3.5 all the way to 6.5. I don't think I want to lay 6.5 against a team that's playing the way Ohio State is right now. So I'm off. But those who got it at the opener, I think you got the right side with Michigan State.
Yeah, Boover is trying to figure Josh out too. Says his burner account is Rick White. He's trying to throw us off. That's funny. But good stuff on the college. And that's why, Rob brings so much to the show too, because, you can ask Rob about any game. He just so much knowledge in his head. I can't answer any of these college questions, really. So without him, we wouldn't have got that segment of the show done. So appreciate you for that, Rob. And it's about that time where I ask if you have anything to promote. And we've talked about a lot of games today. Is there a game, maybe there's 2 games, that you like more than the rest that we talked about today?
All right, let's start with the promotion, because we dedicate this part of the show every day to Johnny Detroit, who we never know when he's watching us or not watching us. So we want to make sure, JD, that we're promoting Wager Talk at all times. WagerTalk.com, the place to go. I like to say, really, for all your sports betting needs, it's kind of one-stop shopping. If you're not currently a member, you go over to WagerTalk.com, you put your email address in, and you get immediate free access to all the media content we do. Each and every day, shows in every sport, all games analyzed, great team of handicappers. I know Ski will vouch as well. I don't know that I've ever been a part of more knowledgeable guys and better guys than what we have at WagerTalk.com. So if you like what we do here, you can get even more of this over at WagerTalk.com for free. Just drop your email address in. If you're interested in selection packages, my college has been very, very good all season long. Once again, and I hate to do this because I don't like bragging about myself, because then it seems like everything goes into shitter once I do. But for the season, number 1 in college basketball totals plays over at WagerTalk.com, number 2 overall in terms of units of profit made. So once again, WagerTalk.com for all of my selections over there. Now let's get back to the stuff that people want to hear about. In the NBA today, Ski, I'm going to go back to the very first thing we talked about. I just think Portland's going over 111.5 tonight. For them to get to 112 against Philly, we broke it down really well. As you like to say, go back and watch the beginning portion. But there's a lot of reasons to like Portland over tonight. So I'm going to leave that for the group here as my best bet for the show, Portland over 111.5. And before I stop real quick here, I'm going to just once again pile on and repeat what you said about this chat room. I've said it before. This chat room is fantastic. You guys, especially the guys that were contributing, Ronald and Chris and Boofer with the first quarter stuff. I don't follow that stuff as intensely as you guys do. So I appreciate when you guys drop that stuff in front of me. It makes me take a second look all the time. Again, I love your community, Ski, because they're all trying to win and help everybody else win, just like we are here by doing these shows each day. So appreciate the chat room for sure.
Absolutely. And to Zah the Better, he says he misses the spaces, though. We'll get back to doing some of those too. Just like Rob was talking about, all of us versus the books. We'll get the spaces going where all of us can come on stage and talk it out as well. We'll be doing a lot more shows like how we used to do. So they will be back in the near future. My best bet for the day in the NBA, all of the lines have moved on the bets that I've made, except for maybe that Fred VanVleet prop. I can't even say his name right now. Besides that one. So I'm going to go with the play that's been good. I think it's only went over 2 times since the trade deadline. It's the new identity for this Lakers team. They're going to win by playing some defense, and the Raptors are playing some defense as well. So we'll go LA Lakers, Toronto Raptors under 224.5 as the best bet for the show. Like Rob said, the show is not the same without you guys in the chat. We appreciate everything you guys bring, whether it's dropping bets in the chat or sharing trends or angles or, just the support. We appreciate you guys. And we'll continue to do the show more and more. Let's see, Rob, next week, maybe it'll be Wednesday, maybe it'll be before Wednesday. But if you like what we're doing, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. You'll get an alert when we go live. I will tweet them out all the time. And just look forward to doing this again with you guys. Good luck on all of your action. Hope you guys cash some tickets and have a great weekend. And I'll catch you guys next week.